560. The Answer.
Squirrel, I told you, man. YouTube sucks. Google sucks. And I knew it would open us up to these simps. Someone on YouTube, by the way, you can watch the show on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. I prefer Rumble, but somebody said, what'd they say, Squirrel? This is low budget. Hey, moron, would you think you're watching Carol Burnett? It's talk radio, you frickin' dummy. This is the problem with dummies. They're everywhere. Corey in Woodlawn, how are you?
Hey, afternoon, Sean. Thanks for taking the call. You know, I like your YouTube short videos, man, where you're walking by the beach. You're giving us a quick summation, so they're great. But I do want to say this. It seems like the only thing this country's trajectory is toward is debt. Cities, counties, state, the federal government, they're marching us into slavery. That's all they seem to be equipped at. The Democrat states more so than the Republican states. But it seems like ever since Woodrow Wilson, we've been marching toward nothing but continuous debt.
Well, because they understood you couldn't defeat us. You have to keep in mind, think about that era, that whole thing, World War I, and what made the difference. We did. And, you know, you look at what we were capable to do. So they knew they had to do it from inside. The saboteur can do far more damage than an opponent. And, you know, this is what we talk about, right? We link all of this together. You sabotage in the Cloward and Piven. You overwhelm to overtake. And Obamacare is the linchpin. And what that bill, this is why I've been mad ever since they crammed it through, because you knew what it was written to do by the Jonathan Grubers, the attorneys, the Marxists. They understood they could write it in the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy would become the enemy of Americanism, and it would destroy the principles. That's why these are the toughest days for me, because we celebrate, rightfully so, those soldiers, those individuals who fought for the principles the whole time. The people in Washington, D.C., the cowards with the butter hands, they undermine everything they fought for. Barack Obama is a traitor. Joe Biden is a traitor. And this is very simple to prove. It's within the debt. You know, 236 years for $8 trillion. I say it every show. Since Barack Obama and his bills, since then, 30 trillion. We are bankrupt. And this idea of the shutdown and it affecting the GDP, my contention is 50%, if not more, of the GDP is because of debt and nothing more. It's not actual growth. And this is something, Corey, if you go back and you watch the old Milton Friedman's, the clips, and you get to keep in mind, the reason he has bona fides and credentials the way he did wasn't just because he was a teacher. They went to Chile and they turned it around overnight. So the reason they were celebrated way back then, and Milton Friedman won the Nobel Peace Prize, which was a big apple in the throat for those imbeciles at the Nobel Peace Prize Coalition, is because he did it. Chile was in a depression. The Chicago 8 went there. They said, this is what you do. And it's what you see right now in Argentina. And that's how you turn around. But we don't do it here. That's the irony of it all. Inflation and all the rest of it feeds on itself. It's a snake eating its tail, celebrating its hunting skills. That's what socialism is. And that's what we're doing. And, you know, can we stop it? That's why I say he has to thread the needle. So when he says stupid things like a 50-year mortgage and $2,000 stimulus and that, I'm hoping it's just hyperbole. I think he's smart enough to know. I know he is. So we got to but you have to appease the morons we're dragging around. We got a lot of, tell me about the rabbits, George. We got a lot of Lennies. 45 million morons can't read. The rest are Democrats. It's a nightmare, Corey. Look around.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, babe. Did you get that of Mice and Men reference, Squirrel? If not, Liz, here's Milton.
If the government slows down its spending, in the first instance, people simply experience that as slower demand for their products, and they tend to retrench. They tend to say, well, my inventories are going up, I better cut back production. It's only after a considerable interval that that's reflected in lower prices or in a slower rate of increase in prices and works its way through. So there is no way that I know to avoid the interim effect of slowing down inflation. In the long run, there is no relation between inflation and unemployment, on the average. Suppose a country gets accustomed to 10% inflation. That's perfectly livable. That's something people can get along with. What'll happen? Everybody will know that it's going on. All wages will automatically tend to go up by 10% more a year than they otherwise would. All prices will tend to go up by 10% more. Instead of interest rates being 5%, they will be 15%. Everything will get adjusted to it. And we have a great deal of evidence that the average rate of inflation over a period of time has no relationship at all with the average rate of growth or the average level of unemployment. The thing is, it only surprises matter. It isn't inflation that produces a stimulus. It's only higher inflation than you expected.
So what he's saying is you're on the path to the Weimar Republic unless you cut the spending. It's that simple. It's that simple. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm watching these young people serving breakfast to these veterans here in Safety Harbor. It's right outside Tampa. Sean Casten, the only thing he thinks about is keeping the ACA and talking about the Epstein files. What a dumb moron he is.
Well, aren't you happy you're not in that area anymore? There was just a shooting in Bronzeville. Guys, going to the Jewel. You can't even go to the Jewel. I'm here to get some bacon that I probably won't be able to cook because that ghetto rat just shot me in the head. It's just despicable. They just live low, man. And you hear these imbeciles. Brandon Johnson talks about Chicago, and they talk about tourism. That's where they're hiding the illegal aliens that the government paid for the hotel rooms, and they celebrate it as tourism. You fracking moron Democrats. Eduardo, thank goodness you're out of there. Thank you very much. All right, I didn't want to do it, but here we go. Everyone, sing elevator music in your head. I prefer the girl from Ipanema because if you listen to this raw, you may lose IQ points.
Now, you've asked the United Nations Human Rights Council.
Wait, what did he say? You did what? You did what? What did he do?
Now, you've asked the United Nations.
He went in there and he tried to axe a bunch of guys. Isn't that a crime? Oh, he asked. I get it now.
Human Rights Council to scrutinize ICE's actions in your city, requesting that the council hold a special session on what you've called a worsening human rights crisis in the U.S. under President Trump. Your request followed a federal judge issuing an injunction last week that limits ICE's use of...
Can you move 3 keys a week? Yes, I can, you fat pig.
Force in Chicago under Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino. What do you hope to accomplish by bringing the world's attention to what's happening in your city, Mr. Mayor?
Well, look, the city of Chicago has longed for universal human rights to be applied locally.
52 people since the beginning of November have been shot. The beginning of the year, 1,751, 387. Mortadell. Human rights, though, in the ghetto.
And, either our human rights are universal or they're meaningless. What we have seen is a great deal of terror that has been executed across our city.
Across our city. Oh, you mean across? It's like a cross, only a little different. And he's right. If you talk about the gangster disciples, talk about the Sinaloas, talk about the Latin kings. But to him, that's who butters the bread in the gift room, right? Scumbag! 312-642-5600.
Marxists, socialists, and communists are not welcome on the Sean Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.